Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condemned strikes on Qatar energy infrastructure during talks with Amir Al Thani, stresses on safe and free navigation, also speaks with leaders of France, Jordan, Oman and Malaysia. Prices for oil fuel cargo smashed record highs as Iran war chokes West Asia supply. US mulls removing sanctions on Iranian oil stranded in tankers. Europe and Japan ready to join efforts to secure Strait of Hormuz. Iran strikes Jerusalem after Netanyahu declared the Islamic Republic decimated by war. Says Iran no longer has uranium enrichment capacity or produce ballistic missiles after 20 days of US-Israeli air attacks. Hungary's constant refusal to accept EU's €90 billion loan to Ukraine angers European leaders. EU chief von der Leyen says will deliver Ukraine loan one way or another. And Tanvi Sharma, Isharani Barwa and Malvika Bansor storm into the women's singles quarterfinals of Orleans Masters. Arjun and Hariharan enter men's doubles last stage. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephonic conversation with the Amir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, to exchange warm Eid greetings and discuss region security concerns. The Prime Minister spoke with the Amir of Qatar and conveyed heartfelt Eid greetings to him and the people of Qatar. During the discussion, the Prime Minister reiterated India's solidarity with Qatar and expressed strong condemnation of attacks on the region's energy infrastructure. PM Modi further expressed his gratitude for the care and support provided to the Indian community in Qatar and shared his hope for peace and stability to prevail in the region. Both the leaders affirmed their shared stance for safe and free navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi spoke to leaders from Jordan, Oman, Malaysia and France on Thursday and expressed concern over the evolving situation in West Asia. He condemned attacks on energy infrastructure, urging de-escalation through dialogue and diplomacy for peace and stability. PM Modi also stressed safe and free navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. And prices for oil fuel cargoes smashed record highs as West Asia supply continued to remain choked on the 21st day of the Iran war. Surging oil prices in physical markets, the trading place for oil on ships, rail cars or in storage tanks have outpaced the already dizzying increase in benchmark futures markets as refiners and traders across Asia and Europe are snapping up whatever barrels they can secure to plug the enormous supply gap. That supply gap is expected to persist following a barrage of attacks on oil and gas facilities across the Middle East that has turned into the largest ever disruption to global energy supplies. Amidst the concerning situation, the US seems to be mulling over taking a U-turn, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent hinting at removing sanctions on Iranian oil stranded on tankers at sea soon. Bessent said, and I quote here, "In the coming days, we may unsanction the Iranian oil that's on the water. It's about 140 billion barrels." He said the release of the sanctioned Iranian oil into global supplies would help keep oil prices down for the next 10 to 14 days. Oil prices have been above $100 per barrel for much of the past 2 weeks as Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz to shipping and has attacked tankers. The Treasury recently took a similar step to temporarily allow the sale of sanctioned Russian oil stranded on tankers, which Bessent said added around 130 million barrels to global supplies. Meanwhile, Iran has warned it will show no restraint if its energy infrastructure is hit again after Israel attacked its southpaw site on Wednesday. Israel pledged to refrain from more strikes on a key Iranian gas field after Iran intensified attacks on oil and natural gas facilities around the Gulf, raising the stakes in a war. Iran responded to an Israeli attack on a major gas field by hitting Qatar's Ras Laffan industrial city, causing damage that will take years to repair. Saudi Arabia's main port on the Red Sea, where it has been able to divert some exports to avoid Iran's closure of the Gulf's exit point, the Strait of Hormuz, was also attacked. The strikes underscored Iran's continued ability to exact a heavy price for the US-Israeli campaign and that the limits of air defenses in protecting the Gulf's most valuable and strategic energy assets. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel and the United States were winning the war against Iran and the Islamic Republic decimated, and it is unclear who is in charge. In an English language press conference, Netanyahu insisted Israel had acted alone in striking Iran's massive Southpaw gas field, while confirming that US President Donald Trump had asked Israeli forces to hold off on such attacks moving forward. Netanyahu also rejected the notion that he had dragged Trump into the conflict, implying that he was the junior partner in the joint assault on Iran.
Well, I'll say two things. Fact number one, Israel acted alone against the Slawiya gas compound. Fact number two, President Trump asked us to hold off on future attacks, and we're holding out. And I want to close these opening remarks with one other fake news, and that is that Israel somehow dragged the U.S. into a conflict with Iran. Does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Come on.
And Netanyahu said that Iran no longer has the capacity to enrich uranium or manufacture ballistic missiles, and indicated his campaign against Iran would continue, saying there's still more work to do and we're going to do it. Netanyahu also called Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
We are acting now, not only to destroy the ballistic missiles and the remaining nuclear programs. Very little remains, but also to destroy the industries that enable the production of these programs. And already now, after 20 days, I can tell you Iran today has no ability to enrich uranium, and it has no ability to produce ballistic missiles. We are continuing to dismantle these capabilities. We will crush them completely down to dust.
What has to be done is to have alternative routes. Instead of going through the choke points of the Hormuz Straits and the Bab el-Mandeb Straits, in order to have the flow of oil, just have oil pipelines, gas pipelines, going west through the Arabian Peninsula, right up to Israel, right up to our Mediterranean ports, and you've just done away with the choke points forever.
And the European Union, following a meeting of the bloc leaders in Brussels, called for a moratorium. Meanwhile, on strikes against energy and water facilities, European leaders have demanded the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and a moratorium on strikes on water and energy infrastructure in the West Asia as they met in Brussels. All heads of the 27 European Union nations issued a joint statement on Thursday calling for the stabilization of energy shipments and de-escalation and maximum restraint from warring parties. The leaders also asked Iran to stop striking neighbors across the Persian Gulf, sought international cooperation to prevent any large-scale refugee crisis in West Asia. And Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said she hopes for a positive outcome from negotiations over Greenland, but added that US President Donald Trump's interest in taking over the territory still remains.
Negotiations are currently underway. I naturally hope for a positive outcome, but it will, of course, have to be an outcome that remains within the red line set by the Kingdom of Denmark, jointly established by Greenland and Denmark. I hope for an agreement, but I believe, as I have said on other occasions, that US President's desire to take over Greenland is unfortunately still intact.
And UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged the United States and Israel to end the war with Iran, warning the conflict risks spiraling out of control with severe consequences for civilians and the global economy.
First, to the United States and to Israel. It's high time to end this war that is risking to get completely out of control, causing immense suffering on civilians, and with propagation around the global economy that is really dramatic, with potential tragic consequences.
Now, EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas called for urgent support to Ukraine at the Brussels summit as Hungary's Viktor Orban continues to block a key €90 billion funding package amid disputes with Kiev.
Discussed today, and the big question in the room is the support loan. How can we proceed with the support loan that was agreed already in December by the leaders? And it's really time to show our support to Ukraine, because the war in the Middle East is connected to the war in Ukraine, and unfortunately Russia is gaining from the war in the Middle East.
While in Washington, Prime Minister Takaichi said Japan is ready to assist in his effort to bring peace and prosperity to the world. After holding talks with US President Donald Trump, the two leaders said they have agreed to communicate closely to ensure vessels can safely transit the Strait of Hormuz. Trump, on his part, praised the US-Japan relationship and highlighted a recent trade agreement, saying it would expand cooperation in areas including energy, semiconductors and defense.
On my visit to Tokyo last year, we reached a historic trade deal that will increase our cooperation on everything from energy to semiconductors and shipbuilding and pharmaceuticals. It was a big one of the biggest deals ever made. The United States is also encouraged to see the steps the Prime Minister is taking to expand her country's commitment to its own security and defense, and buying a lot of our defense equipment, I'm happy to tell you.
And the focus of EU leaders in Brussels was also on ensuring loan for Ukraine as conflict entered its fifth year this February. Despite Hungary's constant refusal to accept EU's €90 billion loan to Ukraine, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has given assurance will deliver Ukraine loan one way or another. The EU leaders agreed to the loan in December, but Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who has cordial ties with Russia and has clashed with Ukrainian President Zelensky and blocked its implementation, citing a dispute over a conflict-damaged pipeline. Orban's stance has angered other EU leaders as Kiev could run short of money in weeks if it does not receive new funding.
Let me turn to the €90 billion support loan for Ukraine. A decision was taken by the European Council in December, and there was one condition. The condition that 3 countries would not participate in the loan. That condition has been fulfilled. So let us be clear about where we stand. The loan remains blocked because one leader is not honouring his word. But let me reiterate what I already said in Kyiv. We will deliver one way or the other.
Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukrainian negotiators will meet officials from the United States on March 20th to restart talks. He ordered that the goal of the meeting is to move closer to a fair and respectful peace. Zelensky expressed that talks had slowed down earlier as attention have shifted to conflicts in West Asia.
Українська команда саме політична.
The Ukrainian team, specifically the political part of the negotiating group, is already on its way. We expect a meeting in the United States this Saturday. Today we discussed the negotiations in detail with Umarov, Kirilo Budanov and David Arakamia. Sergei Kislitsyov will also participate in the meetings. Our priority is to do everything possible to achieve a dignified peace.
Для можливості достойного миру.
Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Indian carriers together will operate 34 scheduled and non-scheduled flights to and from West Asia region on Friday. WTO warns the global trade growth is expected to slow down to 1.9% this year amid the West Asia crisis. Chaitra Navratri festival being celebrated in Nepal with religious fervour and gaiety.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahaj and some more stories. The government on Thursday said that all refineries in the country are operating at high capacity with adequate crude inventories and sufficient stocks of petrol and diesel are being maintained. As part of the government's ongoing efforts to keep the media regularly informed about developments in West Asia, another interministerial briefing was held on Thursday. Joint Secretary at the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Sujata Sharma, said no cases of fuel dryouts have been reported at retail outlets and supplies of petrol and diesel continue to be maintained regularly. She added that in the past 2 weeks, around 125,000 new domestic, commercial and industrial connections have been issued in the last 2 weeks.
पिछले 2 हफ्ते में 1.25 लाख के आसपास नए घरेलू और कमर्शियल और इंडस्ट्रियल कनेक्शन दिए गए हैं। इसके अलावा पिछले 3 दिनों में लगभग और 5600 से ज़्यादा एलपीजी कंज्यूमर्स पीएनजी पर शिफ्ट भी हुए हैं।
Meanwhile, Special Secretary at the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Rajesh Kumar Sinha, stated that in the Gulf region, no maritime incident has been reported in the past 24 hours. He added that the situation of the 22 ships located west of the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf remains unchanged.
गल्फ रीजन में पिछले 24 घंटों में कोई भी समुद्री घटना की सूचना नहीं है। वर्तमान में जहाज़ों की स्थिति जो 22 की थी वेस्ट ऑफ स्टेट ऑफ हॉर्मुज पर्शियन गल्फ में, उसमें कोई बदलाव नहीं है। उसमें 611 भारतीय नाविक सवार हैं और सुरक्षित हैं। डीजी शिपिंग जहाज़ के मालिकों के साथ, जो उनकी एम्प्लॉयमेंट एजेंसी है उनके साथ और रिस्पेक्टिव भारतीय मिशन के साथ समन्वय की स्थिति में लगातार निगरानी कर रहा है।
And providing further details, Rajesh Kumar Sinha also said that a Russian oil-laden tanker, Aqua Titan, is scheduled to arrive at New Mangalore port on March 21st. The vessel is carrying crude oil.
इस टैंकर का नाम एक्वा टाइटन है और इसकी चार्टरिंग की है MRPL ने, मैंगलोर रिफाइनरी एंड पेट्रोकेमिकल्स लिमिटेड, MRPL। और ये न्यू मैंगलोर पोर्ट पे इसका अराइवल डेट एक्सपेक्टेड है 21st of March, and this tanker will be carrying Urals crude oil.
Now, Indian Airlines are gradually restoring services to conflict-affected parts of West Asia. Air India and Air India Express will together operate 34 scheduled and non-scheduled flights to and from the West Asia region on Friday. Air India Express will continue to operate 6 scheduled flights to and from Muscat, including services from Delhi, Kannur and Mumbai. In addition to the scheduled services, Air India and Air India Express will operate a total of 28 non-scheduled flights to and from the United Arab Emirates, subject to availability of slots and other prevailing conditions at the departure stations at the time. And the traditional New Year festival of Sajibu Nongma Panba was celebrated across India's northeastern state of Manipur on Thursday, particularly among the Meitei community. People welcome spring season and mark the advent of the new year, reflecting the unity embedded in India's rich cultural diversity.
Imphal came alive with festive spirit on Thursday as the Meitei community celebrated Sajibu Nongma Panba Cherauba to mark its traditional New Year. Observed on the first day of the Sajibu month in the Meitei lunar calendar, this festival celebrates new life and the arrival of spring. On this special day, community members once again came together for age-old rituals and meals with neighbors and relatives.
It's like a reawakening, and it's such a beautiful tradition for all of us where we share food with our neighbors, our family members, our relatives. So this thing of the community feeling has always been kept alive through Cherauba.
For the Meiteis, this festival is a time to relive their heritage and the spirit of togetherness across generations, keeping alive their identity with pride and hope.
Also being celebrated is the Hindu festival of Chaitra Navratri, one of the most significant festivals dedicated to the worship of goddess Durga and her 9 divine incarnations beginning from Thursday. In Nepal, devotees are visiting Shakti temple and offering prayers. People continue to throng Guheshwari Shakti Peeth, Dakshin Kali and other Shakti temples in Kathmandu Valley. During Vatsaleshwari Yatra in Pashupati area on Thursday, chariot with goddess was being pulled by devotees who danced and sang to the tune of local music and playing of traditional instruments. Sports now. Several Indian shuttlers have entered the quarterfinal stage of the Orleans Masters 2026 after convincing wins in the round of 16. Tanvi Sharma secured a straight game win over compatriot Anmol Kharab to enter the last 8 stage. World Junior Championship silver medalist Tanvi Sharma raised to her 3rd win in 4 encounters against Anmol Kharab. Malvika Bansod followed Tanvi Sharma into the quarters after defeating Wong Ling Ching of Malaysia. Isharani Barua also progressed to the women's singles quarters after a hard-fought win with Wen Zhu Yang of China. In men's doubles, Hariharan and M.R. Arjun secured a convincing victory over Scotland's Alexander Dunn and Adam Pringle. And members of the Iranian women's national football team returned home through the Bazargan border, crossing with Turkey, completing a return journey from Australia. Australia had granted humanitarian visas to 6 players and 1 support staff member after they sought asylum, saying they feared possible persecution if they returned to Iran. The team flew into Istanbul on Tuesday, took a flight to Igdir in eastern Turkey on Wednesday. After a trip of around 2 hours to the frontier, they went through passport control at the Gurbulak border gate before crossing over into Iran. Members of Iran's team were greeted with a welcome ceremony. Upon their return, players were handed bouquets of flowers and signed what appeared to be mini soccer balls. An Iranian Football Federation President Mehdi Taj said his country will boycott the United States but not the upcoming FIFA World Cup. Iran have qualified for the 48-team tournament to be held in the US, Canada and Mexico from June 11 and are scheduled to play 2 group matches in Los Angeles and 1 in Seattle. Iran's Football Federation has opened talks with FIFA about potentially relocating its matches from the United States, though the global governing body has so far maintained that the tournament schedule remains unchanged. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said her country is prepared to host Iran's first-round matches if required due to the conflict in West Asia. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.